Welcome back, Havenites. The video that you are about to see is in fact the one that I had previously mentioned in my last video that I had in mind to talk about then. It details my driving struggles over the past number of years as I had worked to try to finish the story like WWE Pro Wrestler Cody Rhodes, and finally obtained my driving license to get around faster than walking for the first time ever. When I was a high school student, when I had first turned 16 years old in 2003, there was an opportunity for me to begin working on learning to drive, like there usually is for everyone else at that age. With me, however, the opposite effect had seemed to occur. At the time, I wasn't ready to begin driving yet. I had felt like I still wanted to act like a kid, always choosing to play passenger, as someone else had driven me around wherever I wanted or needed to go, like a limo driver to a famous celebrity. At the time, I was about to finish up later that summer a stint as a camper at a camp for special needs children. I didn't get the chance when I was way younger to attend a summer camp, and a few members of my family at the time had chosen to make fun of the fact that in my downtime I had chosen to just sit in my bedroom and watch TV nearly all the time. When a few members of your family choose to act like that way to you, eventually that begins to bother you and get to you. More onto this in a possible later video topic later. Once I was past the required age limit to be a camper at this special needs summer camp, I next focused my attention on going to work to earn income. After all, it takes money to operate a motor vehicle, right? So we're now into the summer of 2004, and I was 17 years old, about ready to start my very first ever summer job, and then also performing in my very first ever summer play production. Did I have a learn permit yet to drive? Nope. At various times that summer, it had begun to hurt as I had witnessed various members of the play production team that I was a part of that summer to get around much quicker into their automobiles than I ever could, while I still hadn't had the ambition to try for my driving privilege yet by firstly obtaining the learner permit. I had especially began to feel this most of all at the end of that summer in 2004, with the end of that play production then. It was during this time that I had wanted to attend the cast party in celebration of all the hard work that we had all accomplished on that particular play production in 2004. But there was just one problem. In order to attend this cast party, one had to stay the full duration after set strike was over, when everything else was cleared from the stage environment and everything in the given space that we had used was back to its original settings from before we were given permission to use it for the play. My parents, who were my ride at the time, didn't feel like staying long to wait for me to help finish this task so that I could attend the cast party immediately after. So I was left to ask someone else from my cast from the play for a ride, something that I still find myself doing nowadays today whenever I want or need a ride somewhere of interest. Eventually, the idea of asking others for rides had seemed to get to me until I finally decided to finally do something about it. Do something about it I finally did, as in the late fall of 2005, and October of 2005 to be exact. I had finally ventured out to the DMV office in my hometown and finally took that learn permit test that nearly everyone that I had spoken with from before was inquiring to me about finally taking at long last. After my very first time with taking the learn permit test, I had passed it on that day in October of 2005. Thinking that I was completing a sequence in order, I had next scheduled a 5-hour course to eventually schedule a road test. At the time, I had no idea that the 5-hour course was only good for 1 year. In November of 2005, I finally got my first chance behind the wheel of a car in my parents' Chevrolet Cobalt vehicle. My dad had volunteered to take me out since my mom was afraid at the time. I'm driving fine at first with my dad until we were required to stop at a stop sign. I guess at the time that I was too slow with maneuvering my feet from gas to brake pedals. In order to avoid me crashing the car head on into the approaching stop sign on an empty side field road, my dad suddenly grabbed the wheel from me, and together we both swerved sideways right into a nearby ditch on the side of the road. When one jealous family member of my family had heard about this a few days later, he had immediately begun poking fun at me for it, something that at the time had really bothered me and would be a catalyst for a building rivalry with that particular family member years later. More onto this in a possible future video. After the ditch mishap in November of 2005, I had stopped driving for a while to concentrate on passing my JD exam so that I could one day attend college. When I had finally came back again to driving, it was in the summer of 2006. I was not only performing in my second summer play production, but I was also taking a driver education class held at my hometown school district. The guy that had taken me and my driving group that I was assigned to learn driving as a part of the course, for abbreviation purposes here, known as MG, it seemed like a real hard ass to me. In fact, I would even go so far as to compare him to a few of the road test examiners that I had previously had examining my driving on the eventual numerous road test attempts that I had taken for my driving license much later on. MG had chosen to criticize my driving as driving much too slow, even when on the main roads. At least I never wound up into any more ditches, so my control of the car and speed between gas and brake pedals with my feet was vastly improving in terms of the quick alteration of my feet movements from gas to brake pedals, and vice versa, from my very first driving experience with my dad in November of 2005. At the end of that summer of 2006, I had passed driver education. However, MG had recommended that I keep on practicing my driving some more before I could even consider scheduling for my very first road test attempt. Much like the pathetic, selfish people nowadays that I try asking for driving assistance, MG had thought that I wasn't ready at the time for a future road test yet. That hurt. As a believer in Life's a Climb but the View's Great, from one of my favorite Disney movies, Hannah Montana the movie, I had believed that anything was indeed possible if you had believed and tried hard enough for it. Take what would eventually happen after my fourth GED test on Monday, April 23rd, 2007, how I had somehow passed that in order to finally attend college and later become a role model for the eventual creation of the DRIVE program for special needs students. MG was acting like a selfish scumbag to me for failing to believe in me, and I still despise him for that. How unfair. After passing driver education in the summer of 2006, my driving once again took a backseat, as I had instead chosen to focus on passing the GED exam so that I could finally attend college and later become a role model for the eventual creation of the DRIVE program for special needs students. I wouldn't get back to driving again until about 7 years later. H names rock. Like, subscribe, and come back for more.